Oh? Oh? Ah, no! Not she's fucking there. Oh, test. Oh, test. What happened there? Awesome.
First off, fuck Elon Musk, $8 too much, bitch, that's expensive. Put a hole in the back and a crack in the slack, if I tweet and delete then I meant it. I don't really need to check, cause I got no respect, and these niggas might know me like a dentist. City all about these streets, so we hear some shit, nigga, get a thing, cause this ain't what you want. No, this ain't what you want. Fuck y'all niggas, I feel like Papa John. Rap straight to the fifth, I'm Tony Khan. And they hate what I say, cause I ain't wrong. What kind of rapping is this? The economy rap niggas piss, you know it. I'm gonna tell my bitch that pussy get feeling like this, she know it. These niggas be texting with kids, it doesn't get stranger than this, that's whole shit. I don't fuck with you niggas like I'm Hulk Hogan, wait.
Rex is here finally. The hoe. Not buying these. Plus you'll fucking mind.
I am me, red house with a shot of repeat. Why you stretching and tweaking your tweets? I've been stretching your girl, iron sheet. What's the deets? In the crib, chicken soiling for weeks. Watch your energy, watch what you tweet. You can go from Eli to Ye to weed.
Cut with that top side, my brain fried. Don't do drugs, had 2 plugs, 1 just died. I'm up late, no talk show, things pop up, got flow. Talk with a hoe, had a bankroll. Shop never closed if it ran slow. Ain't no way, God has never did shit for me. Came up off that stock, had that recipe. Now I do this for my legacy. Top over my dog gave me an extra 3. You ain't never seen no things that do off everything. Make your money press out and say fuck everything. But stuck to it like blood stress, no pint swell, no ice pack. That action bitch, she like that. My young nigga step for me, like old mommy and pants. You don't know shit about me, nigga. Who is your man? Brown, got a 1 extra, like the BBC. What girls all on me? But love, my nigga roll it up, bake career like Whitney in the bathtub. Satisfied.
It looks retarded.
Back in this bitch with the dope, she backing it up for a gram. Baby, I cannot do nothing with hope. I'ma try Molly and Zans. They try to get me to ghost. Boy, you ain't Kai when touching you banned. 90 degrees with a coat, ho, and I ain't showing my hands. I make it harder to breathe. I can run like my emotions. I keep them both in my sleeve. I need more time to myself. I don't need advice. I just need to be.
Back in this bitch, what's the issue? Bitch, they buckle and you off the leash. Fuck 'em.
They don't got nothing for me. It's It's like I've been working for crumbs. Now I'm feeling free's my speech. Calling capital free agent. Cap the salary, free of my team. Y'all rap like need placements. They can't find a replacement for me. When I stalk your page and I see you living life, respect for me. And I tell myself you ain't know her worth and I draft apologies. Fuck. These niggas act like I owe them. These niggas be dick riding for grown ass men that don't even know them. They don't even come outside, don't even see man's late night like Conan. They offer that 2-chair high in sales, just can let it go like Frozen. Bet if I let off these shots, no games, you finna just dance like Goten. White people love making excuses and bitching, I guess it's what culture is for them. You know that this shit don't stop. Black men that hate me usually talk these brothers hell and just mad people love me for me while they put on the front still nobody knows. They don't like when I talk like this, cause they know that that shit is for them. These cracks love talk about me and thinking like it's my job to ignore them. Bitch, please. Still rich, still pretty, still touring. Still lit, still gritty, y'all boring. I don't fuck with you niggas like Hogan. Trigger finger just be glitching his program. I ain't taking disrespect from no man. Niggas rap about guns, don't own them. Y'all sipping liquor, you can't even hold them. I'm taking shots every day like DeRozan.
Ah, damn.
Stop scaring the hoes. Play that shit out and touch their toes. We don't wanna hear that weird shit no more. What the fuck is that? Give me the Mars code. Stop scaring the hoes. Play that shit out and touch their toes. We don't wanna hear that weird shit no more. What the fuck is that? Give me the Mars code. Play something for the bitches. How the fuck you supposed to make money off this shit? You wanna be an MC? What the fuck you think it's that 93?
Welcome to that big league. This is y'all man's sport. Fuck that hip hop and that old man flow. What an auto-tune that. Give a fuck about the trash. Cause all up with the scams. Catch up on man. Say ain't about the bars. Cause all up with the brands. Say ain't about the art. Cause all up with the bands. Give a fuck about the fans. Put the money in my hand. But I buy a new chain. Give a fuck about swing. Go, 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 go. And a brand new ring. But I go to the beach. Play my own thing. I'm a businessman. You're like chickens.
Stop scaring the hoes. Play that shit out and touch their toes. We don't wanna hear that weird shit no more. What the fuck is that? Give me the Mars code. Stop scaring the hoes. Play that shit out and touch their toes. We don't wanna hear that weird shit no more. What the fuck is that? Give me the Mars code. Play something for the bitches. How the fuck you supposed to make money off this shit? You wanna be an MC? What the fuck you think it's that 93?
Stop scaring the house. Railing shit, I'm touching their toes. We ain't wanna hear that weird shit no more. What the fuck is that? Give me that ice cord. Stop scaring the house. Railing shit, I'm touching their toes. We ain't wanna hear that weird shit no more. What the fuck is that? Give me that ice cord.
I should have bought the other ones that were for. God damn it, don't do this. What do you mean finally? It'd been working. God damn it. Is it not? How you doing, Tom? Oh. Yeah, I don't know why. Hotrix is really good on... Because this is the same chat thing I used on Twitch, by the way. I just found out that you're able to also use it as well on YouTube, but on YouTube it's dog shit. Which is always very fun. So how are you doing today?
みんなテクニックで楽しむテニス
Niggas don't rap no more, they just sell clothes. So I should probably quit and start a line of bad flow. Somehow, like this Siri and Siri, if I'm that nigga, should probably answer back, don't ask me stupid shit, my nigga. I'm a stone cold degenerate, working out with no membership. A minute late, you wonder where the bitches went. My manuscript, I can't handle it. Eat your ass like I'm cannabis. I show up on your screen like televangelist. And I have faith that I can
I can't complain either. I'm doing pretty good.
Getting brown, take your yard, need more than a milkshake. But I have to say, I'm up, they wanna see me fall off, but they not sprout. I keep the cuss now. At the front, I run around the corner, but stop flow.
Just trading in game, getting some shit. Guy on TikTok, I want to watch. I've watched him before, but I've been wanting to watch him. That makes sense. Like all his videos. No.
I'm ranking every death row final meal.
This guy, he does like random death row people and makes their final meal. Rates it. I've been wanting to watch it since the beginning.
Every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest.
And he also just puts a random person at the bottom too. You would get overwhelmed? I kinda.
I'm ranking every
Like it kinda
death row
get like that, but for the most part, I'm just chilling.
final meal requests to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of the happiest inmate on death row, Joe Arity.
Oh wait, I know this guy. This shit's sad.
On the night of August 14, 1936, an intruder broke into a Colorado family home, murdered one of the daughters, and escaped undetected. For this crime, a man named Frank Aguilar was found guilty and sentenced to death. However,
Bill Carrots. What is that for? You just maxing garden?
police decided to also bring in the 46 IQ Joe Arity for questioning too. Here, the officers easily manipulated Arity into wrongfully admitting guilt, and thus he was sentenced to death by asphyxiation gas as well. While on death row, Arity would happily sit and play with his toy train and showed no understanding of his impending execution. So much so that after eating his requested final meals of ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he asked if they could refrigerate his leftovers for later.
Shit's so fucking sad. Yeah. I've heard about that. I don't know what it is specifically. Want to just give me a quick little rundown real quick? Or is there alpha patch notes I can get?
In my opinion, ice cream's an excellent part of a final meal, but alone,
Okay, cool.
it leaves a bit to be desired. I'm ranking every I'm rating every death row. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's in this meal in C tier.
Okay, so this is the beginning. Cool.
I'm rating every.
I haven't. Dog.
I'm rating every death row final meal.
She banned me, remember? Wait, that's on my. I haven't checked out anybody on Twitch. I really don't. Like I said, I never watched Twitch streams, and honestly, when I did that, it was obviously because it was funny. But, like I said, for right now, me being here, these streams here on YouTube are just for the people that came over from. Which I was a little upset, I can't lie, because I thought a lot more people would, what is it? I thought a lot more people would join over Twitch to YouTube, even if I wasn't playing Skyblock. But it's good to know that's not true, and that, some people didn't give a shit. I mean, some people have been here, but then they just quit. Like, what is it? I don't know where the fuck Leah is, I'm gonna be real. I DM'd her on Discord saying, yo, you alive? She ain't respond, so who knows? Just, used to join, like, nearly every day, but that was because she was playing Pet Sims. That shit. Well, it's not. I'm gonna be real. I'd rather people not say hello and then just leave. I'd rather have people that are gonna come and actually hang out for a little bit. Because the whole reason I started streaming is because I wanted people to talk to. So I basically got banned from the one Discord server that I wanted to talk to people in, SBZ. Even though there's that person doing that meme saying that I was fucking, what is it? Nah, she ain't a hoe. Started. But, that's enough. But no. Like I said, I appreciate if people drop by and say hello, but I'd rather have more people that actually just stay and hang out than that just come say hey and then immediately. Like, I don't mind that, but also don't like it when people kind of a little dig at Gennaro, but he has good intentions, so I don't hate it. But I don't like when people come in talking about the great shit they doing in Skyblock and immediately leave. Gennaro's been doing that. He'll come in here, brag a little bit, and then immediately leave. And I'm like, makes me sad. Not really, but it just makes me not want to stream. Like, what is it? It's been really humbling. I will say that, because whenever I started on Twitch, I averaged like 5+ viewers every day from the beginning. So the fact I'm averaging like 2, like on a good day, I'll have 4 people in. Like I said, I'm not upset by it, because it's actually, I'd rather have 3 to 4 people in my stream that are actually talking to me than have like 15 to 20 with only 1 or 2.
Meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today we're getting started with Ricky Ray Rector. In 1981, Rector was charged with the murders of Arthur Criswell and police officer Robert Martin. As a result, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For Rector's final meal, he requested steak, fried chicken, pecan pie, and cherry Kool-Aid.
Dog. Not only did you have to kill people, but now you've just helped him push the stereotype. Yeah, and YouTube's fucked up. If you don't type every 5 minutes, you won't count as an active viewer. So I'll check and it says I have 0 view, because at least on Twitch I can tell. Cause it lets me call and actually see. Blade is good. It's just that a lot of retarded racist people use it as like the stereotypical. It's basically just sugary. It's like fruit punch. That's all it is. It's just fruit punch, but very sugary. Nothing incredible, but
Kool-Aid.
but that is the final meal.
However, Rector chose not to eat the pecan pie, claiming to the guards that he was saving it for later. The pie was left on his tray and not disposed of until the execution had been completed. In my opinion,
Yeah, it's like a powder packet.
the meal was loaded up with some classics, but I would have liked to see some sides and maybe a better choice in drink. I'm placing this meal in
An average. I would have put that in B tier, honestly. The final meal: steak, fried chicken, and pecan pie. That don't sound too bad.
C tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest.
They just threw it away. Probably. Even though I understand it's like, I mean, it's kind of a good thing, in a sense, I still think it's fucked up. If you didn't know, in Texas, you no longer get a final meal. They give you whatever's on the menu at the jail that day. Even though the worst people generally are the ones that get, like, the injection, so it's not really that much of a loss, still is kind of fucked up. I'm gonna be honest a lot. See, personally, me, I'm a dickhead. So what I would do is, I'm lactose intolerant, so I would try to figure out what foods would have the biggest possibility of like me getting like the electric, because South Carolina, where I live, still has an electric chair. Cheesecake, I want a milkshake. All of that. Also, I need to check, but I also believe, which I don't know why more people wouldn't do this. I think South Carolina also has a firing squad, which, give me that. I don't want to be electrocuted. Trying to think of like, if I were to get a final meal, like, because I think about it, I'm like, dog, I've heard so many stories of like people in the electric chair and they don't die from the first set of voltage. And then also lethal injection. I know there was a episode about it on there used to be a TV show I used to like. It was called 1,000 Ways to Die, and it would do reenactments of like the most absurd ways people have died. You know what I mean? There's one where a guy was on death row, and he got the final injection or lethal injection, but the guards put the shit around his arm way too tight, so the chemicals didn't go in. So after 30 minutes, they let go of or unstrapped him. He got up and he was taunting everyone. Then immediately the drugs hit him. That man dropped to the floor. Kind of fucked up, but also really fun. Yeah, I don't know. I would absolutely just take the firing squad. And not, but I would have to be like, what is it? I'd have to make sure I haven't pissed off anyone in the jail. Because imagine getting firing squad and they all just shoot at your dick. Like, that's not what I asked for.
Of all time. And today, we're checking out the menu of the notorious serial killer, Ted Bundy. In 1979, Bundy received his first death sentence for the murder of 2 college students. And a year later, he received another for the heinous crimes he committed against a 12-year-old girl. However, it's estimated that Bundy could have been responsible for up to hundreds of other deaths beyond these cases. And in the very end, Bundy declined his privilege of selecting a special meal. So, he was instead given the traditional final spread of steak cooked medium rare, hash browns, eggs over easy, toast with butter and jelly, juice, and milk.
It just sounds like a rich person's breakfast. That don't sound too bad.
In my opinion, this spread had tons of variety and was super delicious. And honestly, I think this should be the basis by which all other final meals are judged. Therefore, I'm ranking this at the top of C tier.
What? See, I hate this guy. I watch this guy's videos a lot. Like, I haven't ever watched them from the beginning. That's why I'm doing it now. But I hate this guy because it'll be like a really good meal. He's talking about, like, this is the basis of what a final meal should be, and then he just still puts it in C tier. Like, what the fuck's the whole point of you saying, like, this is, like, staple? Yeah. I think he's done over 100 so far.
I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time.
And then also he puts like a funny, like every 4th one is always someone that isn't like on death row. It's always like a meme.
And today we're looking at the contract killer with an IQ of 136, Stephen Wayne Anderson. In 1981, Anderson was charged with burglary, assault, 7 counts of murder, and escaping from prison. And after murdering what would be his final victim in her own home, police caught Anderson in her kitchen, eating a meal and watching television. As a result, Anderson was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, he requested 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a side of radishes,
0.
1 pint of cottage cheese, a corn and hominy mixture, peach pie, and a pint of chocolate chip.
Fuck's this guy's problem? Yeah, he should have got death for that final meal. Fuck you mean radishes?
Ice cream. In my opinion, the spread had solid variety, but it was a bit heavy-handed on the dairy and lacked any items I was particularly excited about. I'm placing this meal in D tier.
Yeah, that was not a good meal. What the fuck?
I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. And today, we're looking at the tarot card dealer who practiced voodooism and black magic, James Edward Smith. In April of 1984, Smith was found guilty of murdering 44-year-old Larry Don Rojas during his attempted robbery.
Honestly, I gotta give him credit. I would absolutely look at that meal and be like, yep, that's a serious. Ain't no way. Normal person. Because he didn't say they were cooked. That boy just wanted radishes. He's a rabbit.
Robbery of the Union National Insurance Company. As a result, Smith was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Then for his final meal, Smith requested a clump of Riacunda dirt, a soil he planned to consume for a voodoo reincarnation ritual. However, Smith's request was denied because dirt was not on the list of approved foods. He instead settled for 1 cup of yogurt. In my opinion, either
I would have been like, we need to get this guy out. Don't give him a meal. Like, even though I don't believe in that type of shit, like voodoo and stuff, it would still freak me out. I'm like, hey man, let's get him out. Don't let him put curses on me. The fuck?
either of these 2 options would make for a pretty abysmal final meal. I'm placing this meal in D tier.
Hey, you changed them. Hey, buddy, changed them.
I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's.
Alright, so now the images that he shows before, that's what they are every single time. Except the 4th one is always a meme. No, he put it in D tier. He just moved everybody else up 1.
One's the greatest.
Jared Fogle. That's your phone?
Of all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of the moonshiner, car thief, and murderer, George W. Barrett. In 1981, Barrett murdered his own mother and turned himself in after his brothers placed a $500 bounty on his capture.
500? Man, that ain't even that much. I would have been pissed. I would have to go kill them. I'm like, wow, I'm only worth $500?
But the result of the trial was a hung jury, and he was released.
Uh-oh.
However, just 5 years later, Barrett was tracked down by the FBI for car theft, where in a gunfight he shot and killed Special Agent Nelson Klein.
Yeah, don't kill FBI agent. That's
For his crimes, George W. Barrett was sentenced to die by hanging.
Hanging? In the 80s?
The execution was carried out by a local farmer who enjoyed studying hangings as a
Okay, what the fuck's wrong with this story? What the fuck is wrong with this entire story? Okay, so he killed his mother, only had a $500 bounty, and then they just decided, or he didn't get captured. Then he, I mean, obviously, we gotta have these type of people because we wouldn't know as much as we know about certain topics about these weird, but he didn't even let me get over the fact. What do you mean he got hung in the 80s? That's what I'm tripping over. I'm like, hung? I wouldn't want to do that either. I think hanging would really only work if you're fat because it would break your neck. But if you're like skinny, you're just gonna strangle to death. That sounds terrible.
It's a hobby. For Barrett's final meal, he requested the largest steak in town. However, after his execution, a local reporter found Barrett's uneaten steak in the jail's kitchen. So, the man just took it and ate it himself. In my opinion, steak makes for a great component of a final meal.
Oh, so he didn't even eat anything. Well, he turned himself in. His brothers put the bounty in, so he just turned himself in. But he got let free because of fucked up travel.
Meal. But alone, it leaves a bit to be desired. I'm placing this meal in C tier.
Okay, cool.
I'm rating every Death Row final meal request
Alright.
to find out which one's the greatest of
Is that?
all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of the infamous killer clown, John Wayne Gacy.
If I remember correctly, he had a banger meal.
In 1972, Gacy began the longest string of killings in U.S. history to that point. Over this 4-year stretch, Gacy was known for tricking his victims into entering his home, then proceeding to torture, violate, and ultimately murder them.
Funny enough, this guy, I think, I'm pretty sure Gacy requested KFC.
After claiming the lives of 33 young men, Gacy was finally caught and sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal,
Yep.
Gacy requested 1 dozen fried shrimp, a side of fries,
Okay.
1 pound of strawberries, a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and a Diet Coke.
Not bad. I would give that an A tier. That's a pretty good meal.
In my opinion, the spread was definitely on the decadent side, but it had nice variety and a pretty solid quantity of food. I'm placing this meal in 8.
Yeah, that one's A tier. That's a good final meal. I would have replaced the strawberries probably with like a strawberry like cake instead. Because I might kill someone again if original Coke. The only reason I like Diet Coke, not Coke Zero is the top 3 beverage. But the reason I like Diet Coke is because that's all my dad, or that's the only soda my dad had whenever I went to his house. Yeah, I'd have to kill the officer if I got strawberries and they weren't ripe. So that's why I'm saying I would take like a strawberry cake, maybe a strawberry cheesecake instead of just plain strawberry. Unless what they do, I used to do this a lot. I used to Hey, hey, what did Guy Fieri do? Wait, time out. What did he do? I don't think he's dying. Oh, whatever. But what I used to do is we used to have a strawberry patch near where I lived where you could buy a basket and go pick the strawberries yourself. What I used to do is I would take them, I would cut the green part off top, cut them up, I put them in a plastic container, put sugar on them, and then shake it up. That shit's
tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all.
Joe Bar to look. I think Joe needs that many pepperonis. What the fuck?
All time. Today, we're looking at the selection of the man who argued he was too obese to be executed, Richard Cooey.
What's wrong with his skin? I'm gonna assume that's the picture or he has hella freckles.
In 1986, Cooey and two of his friends were throwing chunks of concrete off a bridge until one eventually connected with the passing vehicle of two local university students. Upon impacting their vehicle, the group of boys pretended to come to their aid, but before long, they went on to kidnap the two girls and proceeded to torture, stab, and violate them for 3.5 hours until their deaths. For his crimes, Richard Cooey was sentenced to death by lethal injection. And although his lawyers argued he was too
He was too... Dog, I'm like 15 pounds less than him. I'm glad he died. Fuck him. I'm not obese. I'm not obese to die. Fuck you.
too obese to be executed, this argument...
I will say it's worse for him because he's 5'7". I'm 6'1". So I could pull it off a little. Being 5'7", 267, that's rough. Hello, Shadow Phantom Place. That sounds good. Make a little impromptu milkshake of sorts.
was ultimately rejected. For his
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
final meal, Cooey requested a T-bone steak,
Okay.
onion rings,
Yep.
French fries,
Okay.
4 fried eggs,
Bet.
buttered toast,
Huh?
hash browns,
Uh-huh.
a bucket of Rocky Road ice cream,
Bet.
Bear Claw pastries, and a bottle of Mountain Dew.
Dog, this gotta be S tier. This is a good final meal. Finally, a fat man gets us a good final meal. That's a good final meal right there.
In my opinion, this
But my question is, at what point do they just say, alright, fat ass, you ain't getting all that? You know what I mean? But yeah, of course I'm short. Well, not only that, if he's doing it accurately to what it was, Diet Mountain Dew, he can go to hell. That ruined the entire meal. Diet Mountain Dew is disgusting.
spread had lots of the best elements from the other meals and more. For that, I'm placing this meal in high
Oh, that's an S tier.
A tier.
Fuck you. I can't wait to see what he puts in S tier. Because it better have been like an entire buffet.
I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of
That.
all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of Alan Lee Davis.
Up another fat dude. See,
On the night of May 11th, 1982, Davis broke into the Weiler family home where he shot and killed the two young daughters and then proceeded to beat the pregnant mother to death with his pistol. As a result, Davis was sentenced to death by electrocution. And while complications led to significant nose bleeding, his execution was ultimately successful. For his final meal,
okay.
Alan Lee Davis requested a lobster tail,
Dog, if I was an officer there, I would just tell him, man, you can kill yourself. I'm not getting you a fucking lobster tail. Fuck you. I would legit be like, yeah, you fucking thought, dumbass. Fuck you talking, you're not getting a fucking lobster tail.
fried potatoes,
Fried potatoes, that's a good option.
half a pound of fried shrimp,
Fried shrimp, yep.
6 ounces of fried clay.
I'm not into seafood like that much. I mean, I fuck with, you know, Definitely fuck with fried shrimp. But
half a loaf of
garlic bread S tier.
garlic bread, and 32 ounces.
Alright, never mind. He ruined the whole meal. It's over. He ruined the entire meal. Never mind. Put it in D tier. Absolutely not. You've lost your fucking mind. Root beer? I mean, I guess he is a murderer. So it should be expected, but root beer? Yeah, I'm glad he died.
Of A&W root beer. In my opinion, the
Exactly. He ruined the whole thing. Oh, a seafood boil. Those are good. Those are really good. You probably have seen people on TikTok eating them. They're really, really good. I live in the South, so I've had them before. They're messy. Yeah, this meal was alright, but root beer, nah.
quality of dishes chosen was great, but when it comes to variety, this spread left quite a bit to be desired. I'm placing this
Oh, I was about to beat the shit out of him. I was about to beat the shit out of him. Like, don't you even fucking think about it.
meal in B tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all.
Well, yeah, because... Well, first off, the reason why in the UK you can't find any is because y'all don't use seasoning. Ever. I hate to say it, but y'all don't use seasoning. So, even if you did find a place, it would not be good. I just have to keep it real. Also, from an American looking at y'all's, looking at y'all's fucking, Chinese food over there, absolutely not. I'm absolutely down to take criticism for American food. It's just my issue with a lot of people from the UK, they will show food that's from a restaurant in the middle of nowhere that is like a specialty burger where it's like a burger with Cheetos and then frosted flakes on top and then doused in chocolate. And be like, this is what all Americans eat. Like, no, it's not. That's not what everybody in America eats. I'm like, that's... Maybe someone in America eats that. That's like one of the things that you get and then like you don't ever get again, right? What up, JC Games? Like, you feel me, Shadow? Like, I'm down to criticize food, but one thing I will never take from somebody in the UK is saying that American food is bad. There is a reason we are fat. Wingstop good? It's really one of those places. I think if there is a single restaurant where it's like a half and half chance, where it's a half and half chance to be able to like, what is it? For it to be good or not. Wingstop is one of those restaurants where it's like you don't know if it's gonna be good or not, so you actually get it. Wingstop is one of those places where like you go there, you order food, and it's like fresh. And then sometimes you go and you can just taste Raisin Cane's. Fuck Raisin Cane's. Zaxby's is better. Basically, Raisin Cane's is on the West Coast, and, what is it? Zaxby's is in the South. I live in the South. I've tried both, because for some reason my state has Raisin Cane's. Best fast food place? That's up to, like, interpretation. Because I'm fat, so I enjoy anywhere. But if I had to pick one, where I'm like, most every time I go, I have a good experience. It's this isn't a place that is in most areas. It's only in like South Carolina, North Carolina. There's a place called Cookout. Cookout, I would absolutely say is the best. Cookout is so fucking good. I couldn't.
Today, we're
So Cookout is basically before COVID and everything. For $5, you could get a Cookout tray. It included 2 sides, a main meal, and a drink of choice. And Cookout also has 50 plus different flavors of milkshakes you can get. And not only that, but they stay open till like 3, 4 a.m. So, but if we're talking about like a national thing, I would have to go probably McDonald's. I mean, honestly, you never go wrong. McDonald's has been there for me whenever I was dirt poor, and it's been there when I've had money. It's always good. Channel activity. Why? Why couldn't you type for 2 weeks? Because I gave you a huge, and then the next time you join my stream, you ask for another pet. KFC is not good. I can agree. KFC is, it doesn't hit like that most. There's better places like Popeyes.
we're looking at the selection of the deadliest domestic terror.
Like I said, I don't mind. Like I gave away a huge twice. The first time, a dude, I was, fuck you, turn it into 32 huges. What the fuck? And good shit, obviously, but what the fuck?
Terroristic.
But I remember, the first time I gave a huge Popeyes or KFC. KFC, I don't know. I was upset that they got rid of the potato wedges, but God, those French fries are so fucking. I can't lie. I don't know what the fuck they put in them, but those French fries are good at KFC. The last time I had KFC was, they probably didn't have it overseas because of how unhealthy it is, but I just had to try it because like it was a new thing that came out. I'm like, I've got to see it out. They had a sandwich called the Double Double. I don't know if y'all had that, probably not. But the Double Double is a basically it was a chicken sandwich, but the buns was what is it? The buns were just 2 pieces of chicken, and on the inside there was cheese and bacon. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck would pick this, because this is fucking disgusting. I'm gonna be real. I'm like, I felt bad after eating it. Like, I don't mind eating big meals or eating, like, food, obviously. Bad as fuck. But, like, that meal made me reevaluate myself. I'm like, I just ate a chicken sandwich that was just was just 2 pieces of chicken with bacon and cheese in the middle. Shake Shack or Five Guys? I've never had Shake Shack. I used to work at Five Guys, funny enough. What was my user? My mommy lets me curse. You don't gotta give me anything, man. But I used to work at Five Guys. Five Guys it's really good, I can tell you that, but it's unnecessarily expensive. Fun fact about Five Guys. They don't do advertising. They don't pay for advertising at all. They don't do commercials or nothing. Which I thought was cool, because I'm like, alright, oh well, I appreciate it. Yeah, they don't pay for advertising at all. Which I think is cool. Everybody knows what it is. I had a friend who, I remember he asked me, he's like, I got $5, what can I get at Five Guys? I'm like, your ass beat? That's what you can get at Five Guys for $5. You can get your ass beat. Ain't no way he thought he was gonna get anything for that much at Five Guys. Five Guys is good, don't get me wrong, it's good. Shit, I remember, I wouldn't eat the french fries for an entire year, though. I'm gonna be real. For an entire year, I refused to eat their french fries. That's because, like I said, I used to work there, so what happened is, I ended up, like, Five Guys is really wasteful. I'm gonna say that. Five Guys is extremely wasteful. And what I mean by that is the fact that if somebody orders french fries, right? You get, like, a little bag or something. You get a bag that you made to, or no, there's, like, shit under that you grab the fries that have been, like, refrigerating, drop them, and then you try to drop an amount that's, like, is good enough for the entire order, because obviously we all know Five Guys fucking will load up your bag with fries. I know, but what happened is, like, it's unlike any place I've seen. I've talked to other people about it. What they do is, like, the little, like, the thing where you put french fries, if there's any extra fries right there, you have to throw them away. Which I think is extremely wasteful. Because, like, even if the next order has french fries, they still want you to throw away those fries. That thing is, like, wasteful as fuck. Like, that's so wasteful. And so what would happen at the end of the night is that he would just have a garbage bag, like, 50 pounds plus of just french fries. My mommy lets me curse. That's just my main account. Every other account, it's gonna take too long to. But I remember one time I was getting the bag. So basically with that, you would have to double bag, even triple bag, so the bag wouldn't break. Well, somebody on the previous shift forgot that. I opened it and I had it really high up, and the bag ripped open, and about, like, nearly 100 pounds of french fries fell on me. Because it knocked me on the ground, too. I refused to eat french fries from there for, like, years because of that. Like I said, Five Guys is really good, but it's not something you, like, think about getting more than, like, once every couple months. It's just way too expensive. Cause see, I'm one of those people, I'm glad, one of those people that never, like, be picky when it comes to food, or, like, be pretentious. Like, I know how there are a lot of people that will be like, what is it? They can tell the difference between, like, a Diet Coke and, like, regular Coke, and it's like a Diet Coke is disgusting, but a regular Coke is okay. And I don't understand how. Because I quit soda 7 years ago. Like, soda that has sugar and calories in it. Because when I was in high school, I was really fat. But I ended up quit drinking soda. And during that, yeah, like I said, I quit drinking soda and that type of shit. And like, I love low calorie drinks and soda and that type of shit. Like, I like it now, and I actually prefer it over sugary drinks anyway. But what do you mean?
In U.S. history, Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, I'm calling the British guards on you. I'm kidding. Have a good one. State you dropping by.
On the morning of April 19th, 1995, McVeigh parked a truck armed with 5,000 pounds of explosives in front of a federal building in Oklahoma City. Later that day, the bomb exploded.
What did you just type? I don't know what language you just spoke right there, but did you send something to me? I'm at my mailbox and I'm asking you what for. Like, what do you mean trade? Like,
Killing 168 and injuring almost 700 others. As a result of these crimes, McVeigh was charged guilty on 11 federal counts, including one for the use of a weapon of mass destruction. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For McVeigh's final meal, his request was simple: 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. In my
okay. You want some better stat pets? I can give you some stat pets. Let me know what your username is. Like, I can give you some of these and shit. But as far as huges, I'm not giving away anymore. I did that one time. I did it before, and every time I've done it, or I did it twice, and both times I did it, the people just never came to my stream again. Never.
In my opinion, ice cream alone is a poor final meal choice, and choosing mint chocolate chip as the flavor.
Do you need stat pets, or do you need, or were you trying to ask for a huge? Do you need some stat pets like these? I can give you some of these. So, I want you to confirm it for me. YRR2RW4. That is your username, right? I hope it is, because I'm about to send you it. Matter of fact, hold on. Also send you 25 mil. Use that to get some better books or something.
Only makes the decision worse. I'm placing this meal in
Tier. D tier for. Not bad.
D tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of the familicidal serial killer, Rhonda Bell
Millicidal.
Martin. From the years of 1937 to 1951, Martin admitted to poisoning her mother, 2 of her husbands, and 3 of her 5 children. Eventually, she also attempted to murder her 5th husband and former stepson, but he survived the poison and was left paralyzed. When she was finally caught, the state of Alabama sentenced Martin to death by electrocution. For her final meal, she requested mashed potatoes.
Did you get the items I sent, or?
A hamburger, cinnamon rolls, and a coffee. In my opinion, the spread was balanced pretty well. There might not have been an X factor, but every item held its own. For that, I'm placing this meal in B tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of Thomas Knight. In 1974, Knight forced a Miami couple to withdraw $50,000 from the bank and then murdered them shortly after. As he was awaiting trial, he along with 10 other inmates escaped from jail and set forth on a crime spree. During this time, he murdered a store clerk in an armed robbery and was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. Eventually, he was finally captured and placed on death row. But during his 39-year wait to be executed, he killed a corrections guard with a sharpened spoon, thus receiving another death sentence. For his final meal, Knight requested sweet potato pie, coconut cake, banana nut bread, 2 tablespoons of strawberries, butter pecan ice cream, vanilla ice cream, Fritos corn chips, and a quarter bottle of Sprite. In my opinion, there weren't necessarily any bad items in this spread, but I would have appreciated a few more contrasting flavors. I'm placing this meal in C tier.
We killed a lot of people. What the fuck?
Every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time.
Excuse. Fuck that excuse. Excuse.
Today we're looking at the selection of the man who requested a movie with his last meal, Ronnie Lee Gardner. In 1984, Gardner was arrested for murdering a bartender during his robbery of a Salt Lake City tavern. But when sent to court for his hearing, he attempted to escape the courthouse. And as he was trying to flee, he shot and killed an attorney who was doing pro bono work for his church. For this crime, Gardner was sentenced to death by lethal injection. However, because of his Mormon heritage, he opted to be executed by firing squad instead. For his final meal, Gardner requested steak, lobster, apple pie with ice cream, and to eat it all while watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. In my opinion, steak and lobster doesn't feel like a very comforting final meal choice, but I will say the movie's a nice touch. I'm placing this meal in B tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're
Yeah. That's why I don't get
We're taking a look at a man with one of the largest final meal requests in history, Stephen Michael Woods. In 2001, Woods and a friend lured out a couple to an isolated road and proceeded to kill them both. However, during the trial, Woods' accomplice admitted to being the one who carried out both murders. He received a life sentence, but the Texas law of parties states that even if you aren't the one that commits the crime, you may still be found guilty if you're an involved conspirator. So when he pled innocent, Stephen Michael Woods was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Woods requested 2 pounds of bacon, 4 fried chicken breasts, 5 chicken fried steaks, 2 hamburgers with bacon and a side of fries, 12 garlic breadsticks with marinara sauce, 1 large 4-meat pizza, 2 sweet teas, root beers, Mountain Dews, and Pepsis, and 2 pints of ice cream. In my opinion, this meal was beyond dominant in every possible category of evaluation. I'm placing this meal in S tier.
S tier 1. I don't understand why the fuck.
I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Harry Charles.
Harry? Nail over. Oh, that was a while ago. $25.
Moore. In 1992, Moore shot and killed his mother and father-in-law when they tried to interfere with his marriage between he and his niece. He claimed that he
Huh? Huh?
killed them out of fear that the couple would take his wife and daughter to Las Vegas and expose them to a life of prostitution and drugs. However, for these murders, Moore was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Because he wanted to get this process over with as quickly as possible, he not only petitioned against his automatic appeal, but he also threatened to sue anyone who tried stopping the execution. For his final meal, Moore requested 2 green apples, 2 red apples, a tray of fresh fruit, and 2 2-liter bottles of Coca-Cola. In my opinion, fruit tends to be a pretty slept-on pick when it comes to last meals, but this was a little bit overboard. I'm placing this meal in C tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Philip Ray Workman. In 1981, Workman robbed a Wendy's restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee, but when he tried to flee the scene, he shot and killed Lieutenant Ronald Oliver. And as a result, Workman was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Workman requested 1 vegetarian pizza, but he requested that it be delivered to a homeless person instead of himself. In the end, the prison denied this request, but many locals ended up teaming together to honor Workman's final wish and donated hundreds of pizzas to homeless shelters across
Wow, what a nice guy.
the community. In my opinion, vegetarian pizza wouldn't be my top choice, but sacrificing your last meal to help those in need is a respectable move. I'm placing this meal in C tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of Victor Fager. In the summer of 1960, Fager phoned a local doctor from the Yellow Pages and claimed that a woman needed medical attention. However, when the doctor arrived, Fager kidnapped him and killed him with a single gunshot to the head. When he was finally captured, Fager was tried and sentenced to death by hanging. For his final meal of choice, Fager had the unique request of a single unpitted olive. And before his execution, he told the guards that he hoped an olive tree would sprout from his grave as one final sign of peace. In my opinion, the sentiment behind this gesture was nice, but as a final meal, this choice was pretty atrocious. I'm placing this meal in D tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time.
Oh. Bodybuilder.
Today, we're looking at the selection of Thomas J. Grasso. On December 24th, 1990, Grasso strangled his 87-year-old neighbor to death using the Christmas lights of her Tulsa home. He then proceeded to steal her purse, some loose change, and a television set. And although Grasso went on to commit another murder before being caught, it was for this one that he was sentenced to death by lethal injection.
Back. Sent you some stat pets, and I also gave you 5 mil. Help you out. Not a problem. Like I said, literally, what happened with that other guy. Like, literally, I just got done talking about how people will ask for a huge and just leave. And that dude I banned because I gave him. So here's what happened. The reason I don't give away huges, I tried it. First time I did it, I said, hey man, what's your username? He told me it. I asked him, hey, after I sent like a holographic. Well, like I said, I was just feeling generous, and so after that, I sent the account a huge, and he had the nerve, the audacity to be like, oh shit, I gave you the wrong account. It's actually this one. So then that one I sent, what's that item called? That account I sent him, it was like a bunch of these capsules, like 2,000 of them. Then he's like, oh shit, wrong account again. This is actually my account. And at that point, I wanted to say, die, honestly, but I just said, you know what, here you go. And then, that's the last time I ever saw him. He has not joined the stream again. Like I said, I'm not saying you have to, like, you know, watch my streams every time. But I'm just like, how are you gonna come to my stream, ask for something, and then just immediately... Because, I mean, you can look above in the chat, right? Literally, before you got back, it just happened. That kid with the Russian name, Polias273, please. They type that and then immediately leave. Like, I'm not giving you shit. And then with that other kid that was in the call, or in the... Like I said, I tried giving him some shit, and he ended up... You know, he said, why was I banned? Then he's like, I told him why, and he's like, I don't remember that. I'm like, I bet you don't. But the reason I am I have that much? Oh, I don't. Reason so the same thing happened. I asked him, hey, I'll give you something, and I asked for his user, and then he said one, and I asked him, oh, I stream every day. Like I said, I stream to be background noise. Like I said, I used to stream on Twitch, but I kind of got banned. I had 2.3 thousand followers. Like I said, I got banned because I might have said something to a friend I probably shouldn't have said on stream. And they didn't like that. Basically, I got banned because of... I got banned 3 times. First time was because I told, what is it? I was telling a person how I was gonna fuck his mother for an hour, and I got banned for targeted harassment. Second time I got banned, literally was a false ban. Cause see, I wasn't playing Pet Sim on Twitch. I was playing Hypixel Skyblock. And whenever I was playing that game, I ended up getting, or I was foraging. Like, I was just cutting trees down, and I got banned for playing an inappropriate game on stream. And then, whenever I went into the, I went into the thing where it tells you, like what games you're not allowed to play on stream, and it was saying, like, you're not allowed to play, Battle Rate. Like, well, I definitely didn't play that. And I appealed it. I'm like, I was playing Minecraft, and they denied it. And the last time I got banned, like I said, I was just shit talking a friend, and he's gay, and I'm bi, so clearly I didn't mean it as a hatred thing. But I called him a baguette with an F at the beginning, and they banned me for that. Why? And so, I've been banned for like 4 months. I can appeal the ban in October, but I'm not holding my breath. If I get it, I get it. If not, oh well. Anyway, let's see what these guys eat for
Injection. For his final meal, Rasa requested a double cheeseburger.
Wait, what? Why would you not get a Whopper? Fuck.
Half a dozen barbecue spare ribs, 1/2
That don't
pumpkin
sound-
pie with diced strawberries and whipped cream, 2 dozen each of steamed clams and mussels, 2 strawberry milkshakes, and 1 can of spaghetti.
What is this meal? He must have been trying to shit himself before he died. Fuck is any of this?
But less than an hour before his execution, he issued his final statement claiming, "I did not get my spaghettios. I got spaghetti. I want the press to know this." In my opinion, these are probably not the dishes I would have chosen, but when it comes to variety, this meal did not disappoint. I'm placing this meal in A tier. I'm rating every Death Row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of Lawrence Russell Brewer. In 1998, Brewer and 2 friends kidnapped James Byrd Jr. and then proceeded to hook him up with logging chains and dragged his body from the back of their truck for 3 miles until his death. For these crimes, Brewer was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Brewer requested 2 chicken fried steaks with
Good. Chicken fried steak.
gravy and onions, a triple bacon cheeseburger,
Yeah, it must be me. Badass.
a cheese omelet, a bowl of fried okra with ketchup, a
Eh.
pound of barbecue meat with a half loaf of
That's not how it looks. The guy, he knows he's wrong. Why the fuck would you just prepare meat and then just put barbecue? What?
white bread, 3 fajitas served with all the fixings, a meat lover's pizza, a pint of vanilla ice cream, a slab of peanut butter fudge, and 3 root.
What's it with root beer, man? Why are they ruining it with? It's not terrible, but there are so many beers.
But when they brought him out the meal, Brewer said he wasn't hungry and declined it. And from that day forward, Texas discontinued final meal requests forever.
Oh, that's fun. Yep. That's funny as fuck. So yeah, if you didn't know, now in Texas, if you get death sentence, they do not give you a final meal. They make you eat what they made at the thing. Pepsi or Coke? Pepsi. I mean, for me, they they both basically essentially taste the same, but with Pepsi, I have more fond memory of it because that's all my grandma drank. We'll drink one Pepsi Zero, okay, and she used to let me get some sometime.
In my opinion, this meal was a bit surprising. In contrast to every single other aspect of this dude's existence, this meal was excellent. So, I'm placing this meal in F.
Yeah, that's a good meal, but that everybody else was.
Tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are looking at the selection of one of the oldest people executed in US history, James Barney Hubbard. On January 10th, 1977, 46-year-old James Hubbard called the police to report that his friend Lillian Montgomery had shot herself. However, when the police arrived, it quickly became evident that Hubbard was the one who fired
Yeah, it's just
the 3 shots that ultimately killed her. So for this crime, James Barney Hubbard was sentenced to death by lethal injection. And although it took 27 years of waiting on death row after his sentencing, Hubbard was finally executed at the age of 74 years old. For his final meal, Hubbard requested 2 eggs.
I know damn well I didn't see a V8. I know fucking well I didn't see a goddamn V8.
Fried over medium, 4 slices of bacon, sliced tomatoes, fried green tomatoes, pineapple slices with mayonnaise, white.
This guy's going to hell. I don't give a fuck if he's a Christian. He's going to hell. Fuck's his issue.
White bread, a banana, and a medium-sized bottle of V8 juice.
That quite literally has to be the absolute fucking worst I have ever. That's an old person meal right there. That's all I gotta say. That is an old.
In my opinion, I'm not quite sure why, but personally, I just could not see the vision Hubbard was going for here. So, I'm placing this meal in D tier. Thanksgiving is officially over, and what that means is, unless you're a coward, I'm ranking
I don't give a fuck about your other cotton, buddy. But with the
every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are looking at the selection of the founder of the Crips and Nobel Peace Prize nominee, Stanley Tookie Williams. In 1971, Williams rose to prominence when he founded LA's first major African-American street gang known as the Crips. But after 8 years of growing this organization, he was arrested for 4 separate murders and sentenced to death by lethal injection. However, during the 25 years between his sentencing and execution, Williams submitted multiple appeals, authored 9 children's books, and set forth on a campaign to educate the youth about the dangers of gay.
What do you mean the creator of the blood of the Crips gang authored children's books?
And while this advocacy even led Williams to eventually be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger opted not to grant him clemency. So for his final meal, Williams denied any special final meal request and instead opted to eat the standard fare of a bowl of oatmeal and some milk. In my opinion, the meal definitely wasn't anything special, but in the best interest of my personal safety, I'm placing this meal in B tier.
In my personal thinks he's about to get killed by the
I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of the former King of France, Louis XVI.
Oh, damn. Back this far?
During the late 18th century, France was embroiled in what we now know as the French Revolution, and because of this movement, the country abolished the monarchy, thus ending the reign of Louis XVI. However, after this happened, it was alleged that Louis made several different attempts to undermine the revolution to regain his former power, but in doing so, he was found guilty of high treason and sentenced to death by way of the guillotine. And when the blade fell, many members of the crowd pushed forward to dip their handkerchiefs in his blood as a souvenir. For his
Why was everybody back then sick in the... What do you mean? Like, first off, why the fuck did they let the crowd dip fucking... Oh, whatever.
For his final meal, Louis requested a pan-fried chicken, some pastries, boiled beef, and pureed turkey.
Boiled beef? One thing about France is they're gonna have some disgusting fucking fuck.
Turnips. Additionally, he requested the accompanying dessert of 2 chicken wings, vegetables, a piece of sponge cake, 2 glasses of wine cut with water, and a glass of Malaga wine. In my opinion, the spread was really solid. Nothing particularly stood out, but it was well balanced and each dish held its own. So, I'm placing this meal in A tier. I'm ranking every Death Row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are looking at the selection of Douglas Franklin Wright. On September 4th, 1969, Wright broke into his neighbor's home and proceeded to murder her and her daughter, then kidnapped her 5-year-old son, whom he violated in multiple hotels, and then released. When Wright was captured and asked why he took the young boy, he
Oh, I'm in deleters though. That's funny as fuck.
said he always wanted a son of his own. And though he would receive a 35-year prison sentence, he would only end up serving 12 due to good behavior. And immediately upon his release, he went on a spree of robberies and then kidnapped a 10-year-old boy who he proceeded to violate for 36 hours and then shot him 6 times. Now, he was sentenced to 30 more years in prison, but again was released in just 7. And right when he got out this time, he lured 3 homeless men out.
Wait,
I'm ranking every Death Row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all. I'm ranking every
welcome back. Sorry, I just had
Death Row final
to restart this. I heard so many fucking crazy
meal
things at
request
once.
to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are looking at the selection of Douglas Franklin Wright. On September 4th, 1969, Wright broke into his neighbor's home and proceeded to murder her and her daughter, then kidnapped her 5-year-old son, whom he violated in multiple hotels, and then released. When Wright was captured and asked why he took the young boy, he said he always wanted a son of his own. And though he would receive a 35-year prison
Okay, so we got that first. So, okay, cool. So he killed 2 people and then raped the 5-year-old son and then just left them to die. Okay, got that so far. Okay, I'm.
prison sentence,
So he only got 35 years. Okay, cool.
he would only end up serving 12.
So he only served 12 years for that. Okay. What state? What state are we at? What do you mean you let him out? Okay, let's see what else he did.
Due to good behavior.
Dude, oh. Well, good thing the child raping murderer was a good person. Guess who let him out? Fuck it, he's been a good boy.
And immediately upon his release, he went on a spree of robberies and then kidnapped a 10-year-old boy who he proceeded to violate for 36 hours and then shot him 6 times.
Okay. I mean... Okay. So, alright, let me get this straight again. So he murdered a mom and daughter and then took the 5-year-old son, raped him, and then left him wherever he was. Got 35-year sentence, and then got released after 12 years due to good behavior. Immediately after that, he did a bunch of robberies, and then he kidnapped, tortured a 10-year-old for 36 hours, and then killed him. Okay, cool. He should be in prison forever.
Now, he was sentenced to 30 more years in prison, but again was released in just 7. And
What the fuck's going on here, man? Legitimately, what's going on here? I'm refusing to believe this. What the actual fuck do you mean? Dog, so he has killed 3 people, he's raped 2 children, murdered 1, and then did a bunch of robberies, and he has only served 19 years in jail.
right when he got out this time, he lured 3 homeless men out to the desert and shot them all.
Okay, nice. What county or state was this in? Because this is unacceptable. Like, what are you... What? Like, what are you talking about? He had good behavior after murdering 2 people and then, like, sexually torturing a 5-year-old. So you'd let him out after 12 years. Then immediately he does robberies and then kills a fucking and sexually assaults a 10-year-old, and you let him go after 7 years? I need to... No.
As a result, he was finally sentenced to death by lethal injection. I'm ranking every death row final meal.
Nah, I gotta see this. Murders. Okay, he broke into the home of 71-year-old son of her family. Upon entering the home, right, murdered her and her granddaughter. Armed with the pistol, he abducted the 5-year-old, taken him to several motels where he let the boy go, launched a manhunt, invaded them from over a month, captured after shooting a man at the billiard. So he shot another person. Okay, so he shot a third person, and then he got 35 years. He said he always wanted his son. He was a model prisoner. 1982. A model prisoner? Cares. On his release, he committed several armed robberies, threatening to kill anyone who got in his way. He abducted a 10-year-old. He grabbed him off the streets as he walked. Drove the kid back to his apartments and molested him for 30 hours. Then murdered him. Disposed of the body, and the case went unsolved for over 12 years? Oh, okay. Okay. See, that makes sense. I mean, the first time he got released, what the fuck's wrong with him? The second time, I can kinda understand. Because this time, whenever he did that, that wasn't found. Okay. Armed robbery, he was released. Alright. Two homeless men, and okay, as they drank, he shot them in the head, jumped out the car, and escaped while he fired at them. He met Henry and another witness that Wright had killed 3 more. Wait. So he killed another person besides the homeless people. Is there not any, like, backlash from all of this? Was there, like, nobody that was like, hey man, why the fuck did you release a double murdering,
request to find
child
out
abusing pedophile after 12 years?
I'm ranking
That is...
every death row final.
Every person who allowed that is the deepest pits of hell. I don't care. That is some fucked up... Like, there's no defending that. I'm blown away. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time.
Cody Co.
Today, we are looking at the selection of Peter J. Miniel. On
Fritos already, I'm excited.
May 8th, 1986, Peter and his friends stopped by the apartment of 20-year-old Paul Minier. But upon their arrival, they decided they wanted to rob him. So when Paul was distracted, Peter beat him over the head with a beer mug and asked his friend to strike him with a nearby shock absorber. However, because Paul still remained conscious, Peter demanded his friend finish the job with a knife. But when he hesitated, Peter took it from his hand and proceeded to stab Paul 39 times himself. So, for this crime, Miniel was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Miniel requested 20 beef enchiladas,
Hey.
20 beef tacos,
Damn!
2 double cheeseburgers, a pizza with jalapenos, fried chicken, spaghetti with salt, half a chocolate cake, half a vanilla cake, 2 types of ice cream, a small fruit cake, and 2 each of orange juice, root beer, Pepsi, and Coca-Cola.
That's S tier. I mean, there's no arguing with that. That's an S tier meal. But I'm confused. It's like, at what point would the like prison be like, no? And also root beer again. What honestly, that's gonna be a good indication on whether I believe somebody's a psycho, like, like is a murderer. Is if they like root beer, like I don't know what's going on. But like, my thing is, how much of this food did he eat? I refuse to believe he ate everything.
Cola. In my opinion, not every part of the meal was my favorite, but the sheer diversity of solid options makes it tough to beat. So, I'm placing this meal in S tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of the serial killer known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf, Peter Kurt.
Good. Shadow, are you from the UK? Where are you from over? I was just gonna say, good. Show some more evil people overseas. Quit showing Americans.
During the early 1900s, Curtin grew to be one of the deadliest serial
Yeah. I mean, I think you're the only person. Not sure.
killers in German history. While he was at large, it's stated that he committed a total of 68 crimes, including 9 murders and the attempt of 31 more. And while the motive for this rampage was unclear, Curtin was known for achieving immense sexual gratification from the bloodshed. Eventually, after 16 years of murders and over 13,000 letters from the public to the Dusseldorf police, Peter Curtin turned himself into the authorities, took responsibility for all of his crimes, and was sentenced to death by way of the guillotine. For his final meal, Curtin requested Wiener Schnitzel, a bottle of
Belgium. From Spain, Belgium? You're saying you're from both of those places?
white wine, and fried potatoes. And upon finishing, he even requested a second helping, which the prison granted. In my opinion, the meal was pretty simple, but it was tasty, comforting, and left me nothing to complain about. So, I'm placing this meal in B tier.
Okay, cool. Oh. Yeah, like I was saying, I'm glad he showed more motherfuckers from your side. But showing all the evil people. What's a break? Mainly Belgium. I don't know shit about Belgium because I'm American. Don't. Not to say every American's retarded and don't know that shit, but it's not really expect to know. You know what I mean? Like in America, it's just like, guy, fuck off. But I don't know. I think it's just so like expected that or not expected for us to know because I mean y'all know about every country in Europe and probably on your side of the pond because y'all would probably go through those different countries. The same reason why a lot of Americans, including me, I don't have a passport. It's cheap. Yeah, like I said, that's like a reason why I don't have a passport. Because, I mean, I can go state to state, essentially, and it's fine, but y'all go...
I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of
A safe? S-A-F-E or... I mean...
all time. Today, we're looking at the selection of Gerald Lee Mitchell. On June 4th, 1985, Mitchell and a friend approached the car of Charles Marino and Kenneth Fleming and offered to sell them marijuana. When they agreed...
You're asking safe? I mean, yeah. Much. For America, not safe. The issue is just like... What is it? No, you're good. I was just double checking. Is it safe? Yeah. See, the issue with overseas and such, like in the UK, a lot of the news over there seems to make America out to be like this place where there's murders every day. People get killed every single day. When it's not. I mean, people get killed every day, obviously, but I mean, in the sense of like, it's like on every street corner there's murders. You know what I mean? That's just not the case. If you go to mostly any place, it's gonna be safe. As long as you're with people that, you know, they're with you, that are gonna keep you safe, really. Bro.
Agreed, Mitchell said he'd lead them to a nearby house, but instead brought them to a dead end, pulled out a shotgun, and demanded their car keys. Reluctantly, the pair complied, and Mitchell led them to a vacant house and forced them to sit on the floor. Once they were seated, Mitchell told his accompanying friend to go grab some rope, but when doing so, he fled the scene and did not return. So when just the three remained, Mitchell said, "Raise your hands, white boy. You don't want to die with your hands down," and proceeded to shoot both boys with his shotgun, killing one and wounding the other. For these crimes, Mitchell
Let me ask you first, are you being racist right now? Slightly prejudiced. That's a crazy thing to ask. I'm gonna be
was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Mitchell requested one bag of assorted Jolly Ranchers. In my opinion, Jolly Ranchers are okay, but this spread was definitely lacking in variety, quantity, and overall quality. So, I'm placing this meal in D.
Also, final meal Jolly Ranch. What? I don't know, because at least where I live, there's not many Arabic people. Like I said, it depends city to city. And I don't live in a city that has a lot of Arabic people. I live in a very small town. I mean, probably have met some, but they're cool, I guess. Like I said, there ain't really... Oh, that's what you mean. Oh, you were asking if they're safe. I'm retarded. I'm so sorry. I'm retarded. I thought you were asking about Arabic people that live in America. That's my fault. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. That's my fault. I mean, the reason I don't want to give an answer is just because of the fact that I'm a white person. So I personally can't tell you how your experience is going to be, especially state to state, because literally each state is so different from the next. Because where would I assume if y'all came to America, y'all would go to a big city, right? Or am I wrong?
Here. Let's find out if this airport sleep. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are looking at the selection of Joseph Mitchell Parsons. On the night of August 30th, 1987, Parsons was picked up as a hitchhiker by 30-year-old Richard Ernest. But later that evening, when Ernest stopped at a rest area to get some sleep, Parsons stabbed him to death, stole his car, and ended up getting arrested later that same day. However, in court, Parsons claimed that he had to kill Ernest to fend off a homosexual advance. But the prosecution ended up providing witness testimony of Parsons' history of homosexual activity in jail. So in the end, Parsons...
New York City, I can't tell you. And the biggest reason as well, and I'm gonna just say this because it's true, you're gonna meet a lot of dickheads up there, to be real. A lot of, like, if you came to the South where I live in South Carolina, like, people are a lot nicer, kinder. But New York is a whole different. You know what I mean?
Parsons was sentenced to death by lethal.
All I know is if you go to New York, have a tour guide. Or have a guide with you. Like, bring you to places. Such. Because trying to Google and just, like, figure out what to do. Even trying to or, like, trying to, you know, the entire area is going to be difficult, especially if you know where to go. Because another thing is that in New York, you don't drive your own car. I'm trying to think of like major places to probably go, as in like, go California. Oh, this is gonna piss me off.
Injection. For his final meal, Parsons requested
California. Funny thing is about like, no, wait, what? Funny thing about California and I would say New York as well, this fact that like all the what is it? A lot of tourist traps in those cities. It's funny because that's what I hear a lot about happens in Europe. There are a lot of tourist traps and shit.
3 Burger King Whoppers, 2 orders of French fries, chocolate chip ice cream, a chocolate shake, and a pack of grape Hubba Bubba Bubba.
Yeah, I've been playing this game since. I've been playing the game since it came out. And this is from like, I've earned all, if not most of it from. Like, usually every night I leave my PC on, let it run. Also, money. That's the biggest thing. Money.
He also asked if he could share this meal with his brother and cousin, and this request was granted. In my opinion, this meal was pretty average, but
Asking a negative question. Four accounts are mine. This one and these top 4 are mine, like fully, like I fully own them. Every single account has every single Game Pass. Is it, these 2 accounts, my friend quit the game and said I could just use them. Stuff. So these 2 accounts, they basically have every Game Pass as well. But not everyone. Like, it has like huge hunters, super drops, that type of stuff, but they don't have like rainbowing, that type of stuff. But no, I've been playing the game since PetSimX. Like I said, I play this is the only game I play. I'll say. I don't play any other game. At least at the moment. And so these accounts up here have all huges. This one does too. But what I'm trying to do with this one is I'm trying to use my money and I'm trying to get a full team of rainbow shinies. The reason I'm doing that is because of the fact that way I'll have a full team of like all the best. You know what I mean? All like the strongest pets in the game. If I'm not mistaken, rainbow shiny huges are, I know this for a fact, they do more damage than Titanics. I think they do more damage than up to, like, if you have a rainbow shiny Titanic, got
Being able to share your final moments with loved ones is invaluable, so I'm placing this meal in S tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Stacy Lamont Lawton.
Do you not have any huges, or do you have huges?
On Christmas Eve of 1992, Lawton and two of his friends were conducting a spree of car robberies. But eventually they came across the house of 47-year-old Dennis
7.
Price. Upon their arrival, Price's daughter heard them breaking into the family's car and rushed to tell her father what was occurring. But when Price exited his home to confront the robbers, Lawton shot him in the chest with a shotgun and then fled the scene in a stolen truck with his accomplices. Shortly thereafter, Price died in the
How long you been playing the game, though?
arms of his daughter as she tried to give him CPR. As for the criminals, all three were captured in a high-speed chase, and when his accomplices testified against him, Lawton was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Lawton requested a cheeseburger, a side of fries, and an entire jar of dill.
That's weird to me because I don't like dill pickles. But damn, what bought it? Oh. Yeah, of course you have 0 huges. You have 0. Started the game. Unless you were like me and, see, I played Pet Sim X a decent bit, but I didn't have many huges. That game was terrible. But I ended up, I had 5 huges to start out with, and then so I was banned from another game I played a lot back then. So what I did was I ended up, I started playing Pet Sim X, and during that time, I spent Robux, and I bought every Game Pass on that game for 2 accounts. And whenever I did that, after I quit playing Pet Sim X because I got unbanned on the other game, I forgot to turn off the monthly subscription Robux. And it wasn't until 6 months later that I realized that I had spent $120 the past months buying Robux and had like 12,000. I turned it off. But with that being said, whenever I started playing Pet Sim 99, I was able to buy every Game Pass immediately. That's what.
Dill pickles. In my opinion, I love every aspect of this meal, but there's nothing really special about this spread compared to all the others, so I'm placing this meal in B tier. I'm ranking
I've gotten a lot of my friends to start playing this game. And a big thing with them, a lot of them are free to play. And like I said, you just gotta grind the game out. And I'll actually make a deal with you. If you actually, like, not that bad. If you ever get 2K again, that's all you really need for the game here. Is because you can buy. Because even though you can free to play this game, there are a couple of game passes that are like necessary. Like the first one you should get if you're able to is auto farm. Like without a doubt, auto farm. But I'll make a deal with you. 'Cause I've done it with my other friends. Like a lot of my other friends, I've given them stimulus packages. In regards to having it to play the game. Like when they first started. If you play for a bit and like you continue to like pop in and hang out and stream, I'll give you money. I'll give you diamonds to help you and give you like a bunch of shit to help you out with.
Every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all.
Like I said, I don't mind helping out people. Like a lot of my friends, whenever they first started, I gave them a bunch of like beginning of the game shit they would need, and I gave them 100. Like I said, I don't mind helping people out. It's just I'd rather not do it. That that dickhead earlier that came in and then left.
All time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of the Damsel of Death, Eileen Wuornos. Between the years of 1989 and 1990, Wuornos worked as a prostitute along the highways of Florida. But when she'd meet up with each man, she'd proceed to rob and kill them with her .22 caliber revolver. And by the time she was captured after 14 months at large, Wuornos had killed a total of 7 men. And almost immediately upon being detained, Wuornos and her attorneys were approached with offers to buy the media rights to this story. And they agreed to these offers, thus resulting in several books, films, and even an opera. However,
I do. Check the description of the stream and see if there can if it a link.
when she got to court, Wuornos would have received 6 separate death sentences and was condemned to die by lethal injection. On her final day, Wuornos declined her right to a final meal and instead opted for a single cup of black coffee. In my opinion, coffee as a beverage is great, but coffee as the entirety of your final meal request is not. I'm placing this meal in D tier. So I recently found out that online you can buy Arctic survival rations from the 1960s. So natural.
Yeah.
I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of the Gainesville Ripper, Danny Rawling. During the early hours of August 24th, 1990, Rawling broke into the apartment of 2 sleeping university students. And once inside, he killed each girl one by taping their mouths shut to muffle their screams and stabbing them to death. Then, over the following few days, Rawling continued on and killed 3 more students in a similar fashion. One disturbing thread across almost all of these cases was that Rawling would leave the corpses in either sexual or disturbing positions with the goal of shocking whomever discovers the body. And even after all of this, Rawling managed to flee the campus undetected and was on the run for over 2 months before being captured and sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Rawling requested a lobster tail, butterfly shrimp, a baked potato, strawberry cheesecake, and sweet tea. In my opinion, this spread was solid, but compared to all the others on this list, it didn't stand out. I'm placing this meal in B tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of the notorious English cat burglar, Charles Peace. When Peace was just 14 years old, his father died and he became permanently crippled in a factory accident. So, to support himself, he turned to crimes like petty theft and burglary. But this would all change one night when Peace was spotted.
I don't really have a lot for the server because, like I said, whenever I used to Twitch, I played a different game. So the server's kind of dead. Might eventually make another one. That's
by a police officer while robbing a house and shot him on sight. And Peace managed to flee the scene undetected, and this would only embolden him. So, that same year, he also went on to kill his former lover's husband and tried to kill another police officer when spotted during a separate failed burglary. Only this time, they managed to apprehend him. And even though he jumped out of the train window on his way to trial, Peace was tried and sentenced to death by hanging. For his final meal, Peace requested a plate of eggs and a large amount of salty bacon. And while he also asked if he could have it with some water, this request was denied. In my opinion,
what? Wait, what? Like I said, I should have promoted my Discord a lot more. But a lot of the people that watched me when I streamed on Twitch don't watch me anymore. Like, I was usually averaging like 15 people during the stream, but like I said, got banned, so that didn't happen. Fuck it.
in my opinion, bacon and eggs are an absolute classic. But as a final meal ever, it leaves a lot to be desired. I'm placing this meal in C.
Also, why the fuck did they deny his request for water? He wanted water with his meal. They're like, no.
Tier. I'm rating every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of the Garden City butcher, John Martin Scripps. In March of 1995, Scripps embarked on a series of murders where he'd pose as a tourist in Thailand, befriend other Caucasian travelers, and then stay in their same hotel. Then, after checking in, he'd wait for a reason to enter their rooms, and when he did, he would use a taser to immobilize them and bashed in their skulls with a hammer. And to make sure he wouldn't get caught, he'd chop up his victims in the hotel bathroom and then hid the bodies. However, after going on to kill at least 3 victims in 8 days, Scripps was finally captured when he arrived at the Changi airport in Singapore and his name was found on a wanted list. So, as a result of his crimes, he was sentenced by the High Court of Singapore to death by hanging. For his final meal, Scripps had the simple request of pizza and hot chocolate. In my opinion, this spread had a couple of great items. I don't know how well they synergized, and I wish there were a few sides, but I'm placing this meal
And hot.
in B tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the man known as the Terror of Falkenhagen Lake, Friedrich Schumann. In the early 20th century, Schumann was conscripted to serve in the German army during the First World War. And over the course of his service, he was regarded as an excellent marksman and even went on to earn the second-class Iron Cross. However, upon his return to civilian life, Schumann struggled to adjust, and consequently, he embarked on a series of crimes. Over the course of just 3 years, Schumann committed 5 arsons, 6 murders, and sexually violated 11 women. But after committing his last murder, Schumann was finally captured in Berlin and sentenced to death by decapitation with an axe. For his final meal, Schumann requested the classic German dishes of Frikadellen and Teltow-Turnip.
Ooh.
In my opinion, as an everyday meal, this spread would be great, but as a final meal ever, it leaves a bit to be desired. I'm placing this meal in C tier.
Hate Germans. The only reason I do is because whenever I streamed on Twitch, the game I played was Hypixel Skyblock. I'm not kidding. And nearly, I would say close to 50% of my audience were German. So I have actively been a consistent shit talker when it comes to German people. Meal? A meal, it just looked like hamburger patties and just
I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of John William Elliott. On the evening of June 13th, 1986, Elliot and two friends were hanging out in a driveway when they noticed 18-year-old mother Joyce Munguia waiting alone at a nearby bus stop. So, the trio invited her to join them, and after she complied, the group shared some drugs and alcohol. Then, after a few hours, Munguia had become heavily intoxicated, so she asked the men to help her get home. However, rather than bringing her back to her house, the three carried her under a bridge and sexually violated her. And once complete, Elliot beat her to death with a motorcycle chain. As a result of these crimes, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Elliot requested 6 chocolate chip cookies and 1 cup of hot tea. In my opinion, fresh baked chocolate chip cookies are
Where's the chocolate? Tripping or is... Don't look like chocolate chip. Oh, chocolate chip.
pretty tough to beat, but even still, the spread needs some more variety. I'm placing this meal in C tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of Walter Bernhardt Legrand. On the morning of January 7th, 1982, Walter and his brother entered a bank armed with a toy gun and demanded the branch manager to open up the vault. However, because he only possessed half of the code necessary to do so, the brothers mercilessly beat him and another employee and then stabbed him 24 times to his death with a letter opener. As a result of these crimes, Legrand was sentenced to death by asphyxiation.
Now, would that be worse? I don't know how painful that is. Yes.
For his final meal,
Actually, no, it's probably terrible.
Legrand requested 6 fried eggs, 16 strips of bacon, a large portion of hash browns, a pint of pineapple sherbet ice cream, a well-done breakfast.
Never mind. Never mind. D. Never mind. D. D. Rank. Fuck you mean well done steak?
Steak, a cup of ice with 1 each of Coke, 7-Up, and Dr. Pepper, coffee with 2 sugars, and 4 tablets of Rolaic.
He already knew that shit was gonna fuck up his stomach. He's like, I need some.
In my opinion, I'm already a big breakfast guy, so between the fat portions and unique add-ons, I'm placing this meal in A tier.
Good meal, but
I'm ranking every
well
death
done,
row
steak.
final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of the former Japanese Prime Minister and convicted war criminal, Hideki Tojo. Over the course of World War II, Tojo led the Japanese military in carrying out some of the most brutal atrocities in modern history. From authorizing weapons experimentation on prisoners of war to presiding over the Nanking Massacre, Tojo's leadership can be linked to the deaths of many millions of prisoners of war and civilians. But eventually, after Japan's unconditional surrender from the Second World War, Tojo was finally captured. And even though he shot himself in his chest to avoid being detained, he was resuscitated, brought to the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal, and sentenced to death by hanging. For his final meal, Tojo requested the traditional Japanese bread of grilled fish, rice, and miso soup. In my opinion, every part of this meal was simple and tasty, but personally, I would have preferred something a little bit more exciting. I'm placing this meal in C tier.
like fish.
I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of the traveling watchmaker known as Uncle TikTok, Adolf C.
That's overseas. That ain't us.
Felt. In the year 1908, young boys all around Germany began to mysteriously pass away in their sleep. And when the body of each boy was discovered, there was never any sign of external violence. But eventually, in the year 1935, when 10-year-old Heinz Zimmermann faced the same fate as all the boys before him, it was finally found that the man responsible for all these deaths was Adolf Seefeld. Through the use of what experts suspect to have been a natural poison, Seefeld claimed the lives of at least 12 boys over 27 years. And as a result of all of these crimes, the Nazi court sentenced Seefeld to death by decapitation. For his final meal, Seefeld made the simple request of one roasted chicken. In my opinion, chicken is great, but compared to all of the other spreads on this list, this doesn't really stack up. I'm placing this meal in D tier. I'm ranking...
Give me like a couple minutes. I'm gonna go start making some food real. I have not eaten all day. Like a couple minutes. Check internet. Fuck. Guess let me do this real quick.
Every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of the freeway strangler, William Bonin. In the year 1979, Bonin stalked the highways of Southern California and would lure teenage boys into his van. However, once inside, Bonin would bind the boys by their wrists and ankles, forcibly violate them, and then brutally take their lives. But eventually the police caught on to this act, and one day they trailed Bonin's vehicle into a gas station parking lot and caught him while in the act of violating a 17-year-old boy. Over his year at large, Bonin killed anywhere between 14 and 44 boys, and for these crimes, he was sentenced to death by lethal. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of the freeway strangler, William Bonin. In the year 1979, Bonin stalked the highways of Southern California and would lure teenage boys into his van. However, once inside, Bonin
This might sound fucked up. This way to get huges. I mean, if you want, there's a new event happening. Like in the event world. Try to get from that. Besides that, just grinding out the game.
Bonin would bind the boys by their wrists and ankles, forcibly violate them, and then brutally take their lives. But eventually the police caught on to this act, and one day they trailed Bonin's vehicle into a gas station parking lot and caught him while in the act of violating a 17-year-old boy. Over his year at large, Bonin killed anywhere between 14 and 44 boys, and for these crimes, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Bonin requested 2 sausage and pepperoni pizzas, 3 pints of coffee ice cream, and 3 6-packs of Coca-Cola.
3 6-packs? Having one right now wouldn't help you at all. What your main focus should be is trying to get a full team of exclusive. What do you mean? Like real life money? Oh.
In my opinion, I'm a fan of all the items in this spread, but personally, I would have preferred a little bit more variety. I'm placing this meal in A tier. I'm ranking every death row final.
Oh, you can just is it any of them? You wouldn't need to just play the game, really. That's the biggest thing I can say. While you're grinding rank, you'll get money. That anyway.
Meal requests to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of the happiest inmate on death row, Joe Arity. On the night of August 14, 1936, an intruder broke into a Colorado family home, murdered one of the daughters, and escaped undetected. For this crime, a man named Frank Aguilar was found guilty and sentenced to death. However, the police decided to also bring in the 46 IQ Joe Arity for questioning too. Here, the officers easily manipulated Arity into wrongfully admitting guilt, and thus he was sentenced to death by asphyxiation gas as well. While on death row, Arity would happily sit and play with his toy train and showed no understanding of his impending execution. So much so that after eating his requested final meals of ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he asked if they could refrigerate his leftovers for later. In my opinion, ice cream's an excellent part of a final meal, but alone, it leaves a bit to be desired. I'm placing this meal in D tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we are taking a look at the selection of America's first serial killer, H.H. Holmes. In the year 1827, Holmes commissioned a massive mixed-use building in Chicago which went on to be known as the Castle. Inside, the building was equipped with trapdoors, secret passageways, and staircases that led to nowhere. Additionally, his basement contained a crematorium, dissection table, pits of quicklime, and various torture devices. So, Holmes would lure people here under false pretenses of employment, lodging, or relationships and killed anywhere between 20 and 200 total victims. And as a result of these crimes, Holmes was sentenced to death by hanging, which went wrong and left him strangling from the rope for over 15 minutes. For his final...
See what I mean? That's why I wouldn't... Sounds terrible. What do you mean it's fucked?
meal, Holmes requested boiled eggs, toast, and coffee. In my opinion, basically every aspect of this meal was below average, so I'm placing this meal in C tier. My little brother probably has the biggest... Nowadays, you can find... I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of the DC sniper, John Allen Muhammad. On October the 2nd, 2002, Muhammad and his 17-year-old accomplice began a 3-week killing spree across the DC area that resulted in 10 deaths and 3 critical injuries. In each case, the pair used a holographic-sighted rifle to fire a single shot through an improvised firing port they built into the trunk of their car and then fled the scene immediately after. And while being hunted down by the authorities, the duo taunted them through leaving behind tarot cards and written demand notes for the police to find. But when they got caught sleeping at a rest stop, both men were captured and Muhammad was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Muhammad requested fried chicken with red sauce and some strawberry cakes. In my opinion, the items chosen were solid, but personally, I would have appreciated a few more dishes. I'm placing this meal in B tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Francis Two Gun Crowley. In the year 1931, 18-year-old Crowley went on a killing spree that would lead up to one of the largest showdowns in the history of New York City. After being tracked down to a 5th-floor Manhattan apartment, Crowley was surrounded by 300 police officers armed with rifles, machine guns, and tear gas. Then, over the course of the 2-hour siege, over 15,000 spectators gathered to watch the police fire over 700 rounds into Crowley's apartment. And in the end, Crowley was captured after being shot 4 times and
I'd have to first get like a burger or something. That first, a ribeye, medium, medium. Up in that section. Watch too many prisons.
And sentenced to death by electrocution. For his final meal, Crowley requested steak with onions, french fries, ice cream, melted ice cream, and apple pie. In my opinion, even though this is one of the better meals I've had from this time period, I still would have liked a little bit more quantity. I'm placing this meal in B tier.
Sad.
I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Carla Faye Tucker. On the early morning of June 13th, 1983, Tucker and her boyfriend Danny Garrett broke into the apartment of their friends Jerry and Deborah with the intention of stealing their motorcycle. However, upon entering, an altercation broke out and Garrett struck Jerry in the back of the head with a ball-peen hammer. But when this caused him to start gurgling, Tucker struck him with a pickaxe to silence the noise. Then, as the duo prepared to leave the scene, Tucker spotted Deborah hiding in the bed and struck her multiple times with the pickaxe as well. For these two murders, Tucker was sentenced to death by lethal injection. For her final meal, Tucker requested a garden salad with ranch dressing, a peach, and a banana. In my opinion, as a normal meal, this spread is already a little weak, but as a final meal ever, this lineup is just rubbish. I'm placing this meal in D tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Juanita the Duchess Spinelli. In 1940 San Francisco, Spinelli was a gang leader who was known to pick up young homeless men off the streets. And in exchange for housing and feeding them, Spinelli would have these boys train under her to become professional criminals. And eventually, Spinelli had two of her protégés, Albert Ives and Robert Sherrod, perform a robbery in which they ended up shooting and killing a man. But because Spinelli feared Sherrod would confess this to the police, she proceeded to poison him, have the gang beat him while he was unconscious, and threw him over a bridge. But fearing the same would happen to him, Ives escaped and confessed to the police himself. And when Spinelli was finally caught, she was sentenced to death by asphyxiation gas. For her final meal, Spinelli requested turkey meat and a hamburger. In my opinion, this meal is a bit below average in basically every regard. I'm placing this meal in C tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Russell Bucklew. On Valentine's Day of 1996, Bucklew's girlfriend Stephanie Ray broke up with him and they went their separate ways. But when Bucklew began to stalk their old trailer, he found that Ray was with the new man, Michael Sander. So after threatening the pair multiple times, he eventually went on to break into their trailer dual-wielding pistols, gunned down Sanders, and fired a shot at one of his children, but missed. Also, Bucklew kidnapped Ray as he fled the scene. However, he was quickly tracked down and was captured and sentenced to death by lethal injection. For his final meal, Bucklew requested 2 chili cheese dogs, a bacon cheeseburger, a sausage and pepperoni pizza, a bucket of fried chicken, fried fish with tartar sauce, a pound of barbecue, a pint of ice cream, and a 6-pack of Coca-Cola. In my opinion, this meal had tons of variety, plenty of quantity, and was chocked full of comforting dishes. I'm placing this meal in S tier. I'm ranking every death row final meal request to find out which one's the greatest of all time. Today, we're taking a look at the selection of Dobie Gillis Williams. On the night of July 8th, 1984, Sonia Nippers woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. However, when she closed the door, she discovered a pantless man brandishing a knife. Then, as she screamed in horror, the assailant stabbed her to death and fled out the window. As a result of this crime, Williams was sentenced to death by lethal injection. However, issues with this case quickly began to arise. Not only was Williams considered mentally disabled with an IQ of 65, but also, the lawyer that represented him in trial ended up being disbarred for incompetence. And his sentencing was even eventually overturned. But due to his mitigating evidence being introduced too late into the case, Williams was still executed. For his final meal, Williams requested 12 chocolate bars and ice cream. In my opinion, this meal was definitely tasty, but the flavors included were a little bit one-note. I'm placing this meal in C tier. Since the dawn of time, brave men and women have given their lives in service of what they believed in. But if you ask me, the one man that stands above them all is King Adolf. Since the dawn of time, brave men and